Welcome back. Now, we're implementing AI behavior for the enemy, and that's going to involve chasing, attacking, and running around for the enemy. And we need to decide what happens when the enemy is playing its get hit function. So, for example, if I shoot it, it plays its hit react animation. And so we need to decide if it's going to be able to attack during that time or if it should stop running. So we're going to create a variable that will tell us when the enemy is playing this hit react animation. And we're going to say that whenever the enemy gets hit and is playing this hit react animation, it's stunned temporarily. So we can create a Boolean for when the enemy is stunned, and that way we can check that Boolean to make sure that the enemy is not stunned before we try to do anything else. So let's go ahead and get started implementing this stunned mechanic. So here we are in enemy.cpp, and I'd like to create a Boolean for when the enemy is stunned. So let's create a bool called beStunned. Now we're going to give this a U property. And because I want to see it from blueprints, but not set it, I'm going to make this visible anywhere. Blueprint read only. Category combat, and we'll give it the meta specifier, allow private access. Now I'm going to give this a comment and say true when playing the get hit animation. And by default, we're going to give this a value of false. So I'm going to go into the constructor all the way at the top and give this a default value of false. So we have this stunned variable, and we need to set this when the enemy is stunned. Now, when does the enemy get stunned? Well, if we look at the bullet hit implementation, this is the interface function bullet hit. This is when we play the impact sound and spawn impact particles, and we show the health bar as well as play the hit montage for the hit react animation. Now this is where we're going to actually become stunned. Now I'd like this to be something that has a chance of happening, but not 100% chance. So whenever we shoot the enemy should have a sort of percent chance that it can be stunned, and different enemies can have a different value for this. So why don't we go ahead and create a variable of type float, and we'll call this stun chance. And I'll give this a U property, and I'd like this to be edit anywhere, so we can set this in the editor so we can sort of test it out. So it'll be edit anywhere, blueprint read write, and the same category and meta specifiers as the beStunned variable. So I'll copy those and paste them in there. And this will have a comment saying chance of being stunned. So we have a stun chance, and this should be something like between 0 and 1. So I'll add that to the comment in as well. We'll say 0, no stun chance, 1, 100% stun chance. And we can give this a default value as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just give it a default value of, say, 0.5f. That way there's a 50% chance of being stunned. And back in our bullet hit implementation here, this is where we can determine whether or not a bullet hit will cause the enemy to be stunned. So let's add a comment here and say, determine whether bullet hit stuns. And so what we're going to do is get a random value between 0 and 1. So we'll say const float stunned equals fmath frand range, and this will be between 0.f and 1.f. And so we'll get a random value between 0 and 1. And we just need to see if that number is within our stun chance. So we're going to check to see if stunned is less than or equal to stun chance. If so, then we're going to stun the enemy. So I'm going to add a comment that says stun the enemy. And when we stun the enemy, we're simply going to play the hit montage. So I'll put that line inside the if check, and then we'll set our Boolean be stunned to true. So now we have this Boolean that will tell us whether or not we're being stunned. And we need to set this be stunned variable back to false as soon as we're done playing this hit react animation. Now we can set be stunned back to false with an anim notify if be stunned is editable in Blueprints, and we can do that by simply taking our be stunned variable and making it blueprint read write. So let's go ahead and just set this to blueprint read write. That way we'll be able to set it from Blueprints. So let's go ahead and compile this, and then we'll jump in the editor and take care of setting be stunned back to false. Okay, so we've compiled, and here in the editor, what we need to do is get our enemy hit montage and open that up. And we have our hit react front as well as hit react back, left, and right. Now it's the hit react front montage section that we're concerned with. Here is where we're going to add a anim notify. So right at the end of the montage section, we're going to right click, add notify, and select new notify, and this will be stun finish. Now we can go into the blueprint, and here in the event graph, we can right click and type stun finish, and here is the event for that notify. And all we need to do here is use try get pawn owner to get the owner of this animation blueprint. So try get pawn owner, and we can cast this to enemy BP, and if the cast is successful, as enemy BP, we can get the stunned variable. We can actually get a setter for that, and we can set this to false, so we can leave that checkbox unchecked. So when stun finish gets called at the end of that hit react notify, then the stunned variable gets set back to false. Let's compile and save this. And we can go ahead and close the Grux anim BP. We can save enemy hit and close that. And we can test this out. Now I'm going to hit play, and I'm going to search in the world outliner for enemy and select our enemy BP. And in the details panel, I'm going to search for stunned. Now here's our stunned variable. It's set to false. And if I shoot the enemy, there's a 50% chance of stunning the enemy. So roughly half the time, we should see that stunned checkbox become checked. There it is. And then it shortly becomes unchecked because at the end of that hit react animation, the stunned variable gets set back to false. Okay, so we've now created a stunned mechanic. We have a Boolean that will be set, and it's based on a stun chance. Now we can use this Boolean to affect the enemy's behavior, and we're going to do that in a future video. So stay tuned. I'll see you in the next video.